All right, for more reaction to a second straight Edmonton Oilers loss in the Cup final, here's Ryan Rishaug, our Edmonton bureau chief. And Ryan, great to see you on the ice at Sunrise, Florida. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, a combined -8, held off the score sheet. How frustrated were the Oilers stars after this loss?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were extremely frustrated, Jay, but I would say that it was a little bit different than last year. I mean, last year it was the first time, and they were absolutely crushed while we were doing their media availability. This year was a little bit different. They were a little bit more resigned. I mean, Connor McDavid, you know, he stood there and he answered the questions, and he was certainly emotional, but a little bit more, I don't know, almost reserved. And they talked in a way that led you to believe that they just knew how good the Panthers were. They really knew how good this Panthers team were. When you hear Connor McDavid talking about banging his head up against the wall, trying the same thing over and over again, you never hear that from Connor McDavid. He always has answers, and this team just did not have answers. These high-octane, high-quality, world-class offensive players just did not have answers against this Florida Panthers team. So without question, Jay, they're crushed and devastated, but it had a different tone to it this year. They know how good this Florida team was.
And, you know, it was a dominant performance by the Florida Panthers. They opened the scoring for the 5th straight game. They led for more minutes than any team in Stanley Cup final history. Simply put, Ryan, did the better team win?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. I mean, look at the way the series went. They led for basically the entire series. They prevented Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl from getting to their game the last 4 games in a row. They dominated in the early going and were constantly out to leads after the first period. So when you got a Panthers team that defensively can do what they did against those players, while at the same time be so deep offensively, there are all kinds of contributions from throughout the entire lineup. It felt at times like they had 3 first lines rolling over the boards, line after line after line, clutch player. They were deep. And then you heard Connor McDavid say it a couple of days ago, when you get through Reinhart, when you get through Barkov, then you've got Forsling and Ekblad. Oh, no, yeah, they added Seth Jones this year and a veteran-savvy player like Brad Marchand. Like, this was an incredibly deep Florida team, and the Oilers definitely knew they were in one, and they never got to their game, Jay. 2 times in this series, we heard Connor McDavid say it a few games ago. We heard Leon Draisaitl say it today. They hadn't got to their game yet, and they never did.
And then there's Kris Knoblauch, who, Ryan, you and I both have talked so much about these Stanley Cup playoffs, how Knoblauch has known exactly when to push the right buttons, when to switch players in and out of the lineup. At the end of the day, though, when it came to the Cup final, was it maybe too much tinkering, do you think? Not enough consistency?
Yeah, so here's the thing. And I asked Knoblauch about this postgame. They had the plan all along to switch to McDavid, Draisaitl, and Corey Perry early on in this game. They had predetermined that plan. But here you have a team, Jay, that has been talking about needing to get off to a good start, needing to find its game. Well, they rolled their original lines out, and they got off to a great start. They had momentum. They had some chances. It looked good. He made the switch anyway. He went with 29 and 97 together, despite the fact that his team got off to a good start. And immediately they got scored on. And then they were on the ice for a second goal against at even strength. So, listen, Kris Knoblauch usually knows exactly what's needed within this group. But I do have to say, for a team that was desperate to get to its game early on, I was surprised he pulled that switch and went 29 and 97 when things were going well early on. That one did surprise me, and he admitted that was the plan going in. He didn't deviate when they started well.
And now we talk off-season, 2 major bits of business. You've got Evan Bouchard as an RFA. You've got Connor McDavid potentially signing an extension on July the 1st. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, these are 2 huge contracts. They're important ones. And quite frankly, probably a decision to make on the goaltending, you know, where this organization is concerned. So this will be a big off season. You know, my sense is on Evan Bouchard, he's shown in back-to-back years in the playoffs he can be a world-class point producer, a world-class puck mover. And I think there will be a deal to get hammered out. I think it's going to be expensive, though. Everybody knows where the cap is going. And then where Connor McDavid is concerned, all signs point to Connor McDavid remaining in Edmonton, I would say, at this point. Nothing is guaranteed. But I think it's a matter of what's the number, and are we talking a 4-year deal, an 8-year deal? I believe the organization, is probably optimistic at this point, but we'll see the way these things play out in the coming weeks. But a massive offseason with 2 critical players involved in Bouchard and Connor McDavid.
Awesome job throughout the postseason, buddy. We really appreciate it. Get home safe. No more trips through Denver where you get stuck. Okay? Just get home, okay?
No. I know. Just 2 flights, get home, and done. No more problems, Jay.
Sounds good. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate all you're doing for us. And yes, this is the 5th time since 1990 that a team has won back-to-back Stanley Cups. How about the state of Florida? That no state tax is working for them, no matter what Gary Bettman says. They've now won 4 of the last 6 cups. They've been part of the Stanley Cup Final 6 straight years. 3 Lightning, 3 Panthers.